What is the hardest bodyweight skill in the world? Could it be a push-up? Could it be a planche? Or is it the Maltese? At first, the answer seems simple. You find the rarest skill, put it at number 1, and the question is finished. But the deeper you look, the harder it becomes to compare these movements. One skill may need more raw strength. Another may need better balance, stronger wrists, or a body shape that fits the movement. And a few skills may be limited by human mechanics, not by a lack of training. By the end of this video, we will reach 2 movements that go beyond almost everything athletes have already done. One may be physically impossible in its strict form. The other has been attempted, but nobody has completed the full movement cleanly. To understand how extreme that is, we need to start with the most familiar exercise of all. A push-up is probably the first real strength exercise most people try. Doing 1 repetition does not sound impressive. For many people, it is only the start. But a survey of 2,000 American adults showed how quickly the numbers drop. More than half said they could not do more than 10 push-ups in a row. More than a third said they could not reach even 5. And those answers were self-reported, so nobody was checking their depth or body position. Even with a basic movement, most people are already much weaker than they think. Now, remove one arm, stop the body from twisting, and lower the chest through a full range. A strict one-arm push-up is much rarer than the half repetitions usually shown online. But it is still a movement most people can understand. The next step is where the numbers stop feeling normal. The planche holds the whole body parallel to the floor with both feet in the air. The elbows stay locked, and the hands are the only support. There is no useful survey that tells us how many people can perform one. But if you chose 1 million people at random, you might find 0 clean full planches. Then we reach the Maltese. The body is still horizontal, but the arms move far out to the sides near waist level. That small change creates a huge increase in difficulty. If a planche could disappear inside a group of 1 million people, a clean ring Maltese could disappear inside 10 million. But here is the real problem with calling the Maltese the hardest skill. What if the Maltese is only the final position? What if the athlete must reach it from another extreme hold with straight arms and no swing? And what if some skills are so rare that even among 100 million people, you might still find nobody who can repeat them? That is where the real list begins. The clearest examples come from gymnastics and high-level calisthenics. That does not mean athletes from other sports are weak. It means these athletes spend years training exactly these positions. They build straight arm strength, shoulder control, balance, and strong tendons. We are focusing on holds and slow transitions without flips, kicks, swings, or momentum. And the first movement shows why simply holding a Maltese is not the end. The Zanetti is named after Brazilian ring specialist Arthur Zanetti. He won Olympic gold on rings in 2012. The movement starts in a back lever under the rings. From there, the athlete moves the whole body upward and forward into a flat Maltese. A normal Maltese asks the athlete to hold one of the hardest positions in gymnastics. The Zanetti asks the athlete to enter that position under full control, but it uses the shorter path. The next skill makes the same journey much longer. The Van Gelder is named after Dutch ring specialist Yuri van Gelder. It connects several extreme positions in one long movement. The athlete begins in a planche. Then, the body lowers through a back lever. From the lowest point, the athlete presses back upward into a Maltese. The arms remain straight during the entire sequence. The Zanetti is a more direct transition. The Van Gelder sends the body all the way down before demanding the full climb back up. The final hold is already extremely hard, but here, the path may be even harder than the finish. That idea becomes more obvious when the final position changes from a Maltese to a Victorian. Tulloch has 2 ring elements named after him. They are the Tulloch and the Tulloch II. Both movements finish in a Victorian, where the athlete lies face up and horizontal at ring height. The arms stay straight and extend behind the body. Where the first Tulloch enters from the front and passes through a front lever line, the Tulloch II begins from a vertical hang. From there, the athlete uses straight arm pulling strength to lift and rotate the whole body into position. The final hold is similar in both skills, but entry is completely different. And outside official gymnastics, another athlete pushed the Victorian into calisthenics. Manuel Caruso developed his famous movement outside elite competitive gymnastics. The skill became known through videos and recognition from the calisthenics community. This shows an important difference. Gymnastics uses an official code and formal names. Calisthenics uses public footage and community recognition. The Caruso is a straight arms move from a front lever into a Victorian. Caruso spent years building this movement, and the next skill changes the challenge by removing half of the support. This is a one-arm planche push-up. The whole body is supported by only one hand. The feet stay in the air while the supporting arm bends and presses the body back up. A perfectly straight and perfectly level version may look like the ideal form, but that shape creates a serious balance problem. The body's balance point must stay above the supporting palm. If the body remains completely straight, too much weight moves toward the free arm side. That is why real one-arm planches usually form a small C shape. Now continue past the push-up, there's another skill that should be mentioned here. From the lower position, the athlete presses upward on one arm until the body reaches a one-arm handstand. The movement combines a bent arm press, one-arm planche control, and a straight arm press to handstand. But one palm still gives the athlete much more support than what comes next. 2 fingers, not 2 hands. Not 2 palms, just 2 tiny contact points supporting the whole body upside down. The athlete presses into the handstand instead of jumping into it. Once on fingers, the athlete must make constant tiny corrections in every direction. In reality, this creates a much bigger question. Almost any skill becomes much harder when it is performed on the fingertips. A planche becomes a fingertip planche, a handstand becomes a fingertip handstand. So, which version is truly harder? A clean skill on both palms, or a less stable version on fewer fingers? There is no objective answer. At this level, difficulty does not follow one straight line, and the next movement is so unusual that it does not even have a clear standard. The movement is called the alien flag muscle down, and the first athlete who performed it was Xylus. The movement begins in a human flag, and the body is held sideways from a vertical support. From there, the athlete moves through a vertical Maltese-like position. It looks like a muscle up or muscle down performed inside a human flag, but the arms are doing completely different jobs. The lower arm keeps pushing while the upper arm keeps pulling. At the same time, the shoulders must move the body through an extremely weak straight arm position. And if this movement looks strange, the next one places the shoulders in an even weaker direction. Picture a normal planche. The body is flat and parallel to the floor. Now turn the hands so the fingers point toward the feet and the arms also move behind the torso. This creates the reverse planche. The movement demands extreme strength through the back of the body. The rear shoulders and triceps take a huge load. The athlete must create force in a position where the human body is naturally weak. Turning the wrist toward the head can give a small mechanical advantage. Kevin Rowland, also known as Kevin Row, is closely linked with one of the cleanest versions of this skill. Now we cross a very different line. The final 2 skills may be beyond what any athlete has completed cleanly. The first one is called Close to Impossible, or CTI. The name sounds like marketing. Hard skills are often called impossible until someone finally does them. But the strictest CTI may really be limited by physics. The athlete hangs from a horizontal bar. Then the arms press until they are straight. The body extends away from the bar and creates an L shape. But there are 2 versions, and the difference between them changes everything. In the version athletes can perform, the body leans outward at an angle. This keeps the body's weight close enough to the bar for the wrists and forearms to control it. The strict version places the body fully vertical while the arms remain horizontal. Now the body's weight moves beyond the bar. Gravity tries to rotate the entire body away from the support. The wrist must create enough force to stop that rotation. The wrist muscles may simply be too small for the amount of force needed. More training cannot always fix bad leverage. That is the difference between a very hard movement and a movement that may be physically impossible. The inverted butterfly begins upside down on the rings. The athlete starts in an inverted hang, and then the body moves through an inverted cross and continues into a handstand. The arms must stay straight during the whole movement. The inverted cross in the middle is the main barrier, and the athlete has to pass through that point as one controlled press. Several strong athletes, including Spinazzola, have attempted the movement, but the same problems usually appear. These attempts are still incredible, but they do not meet the full standard. A clean inverted butterfly needs straight arms, a controlled inverted cross, and a stable handstand. The real problem is connecting all of them without escaping the hardest moment. So, what is the hardest bodyweight skill in the world? The honest answer is that there is no single test that gives us one perfect winner. If we look at confirmed straight arm ring transitions, the Zanetti, Van Gelder, Tulloch variations, and Caruso all belong near the top. If we look at one arm floor strength, the one arm planche push-up into a handstand is a serious candidate. If we reduce the support to the fingers, almost any normal skill can become a new category of difficulty. If we ask which strict position may be physically impossible, the vertical CTI may be the best answer. And if we ask for the hardest movement that athletes have almost completed, the inverted butterfly may be the clearest choice. So the real answer is not one skill. The real answer is the line between what has been performed, what has only been partly shown, what cannot be verified, and what the human body may never hold. This video is not the final answer. It is a look at the current edge of bodyweight strength. If another skill belongs on this list, add it in the comments. And most importantly, watch the original clips and give the athletes credit for pushing that edge forward.